Welcome to Unscrupulous, the podcast where we talk dishonest folks whose victims always live to tell the tale. Hello to my good friend, Beck Rose.
Hello, Adam Lawler.
How are you right now? Where's your head? Where's your heart?
The biggest gasp, just like known to man, by the way. I'm so excited that we are doing this again. It is happening. The squeakquel.
The squeakquel.
Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, yes.
It's happening. It's happening again.
It took me forever to find my topic, and then as soon as I thought of it, I was like, oh my God. Like, of course I'm going to do that.
I won't lie. I had my topic. I had the script written before we even recorded our first episode. And
Yes.
And I was like so excited to do this one that I was like, can we get past the first episode? Which, like, I'm so excited. I was so excited for Astronaut P. Who wouldn't be?
Obviously.
But I just, I'm so excited to tell you this story.
I'm so pumped to hear it.
Yeah. But how are you? How's your head and heart?
It's a little warm. It's a little toasty, but it's getting cooler, so that's nice.
You have a broken AC.
Yes, we do have a broken AC right now, and it's lasted through like 2 major heat waves at this point. It's just like, just want it to be fixed so I can, yeah. But at least on this episode, I will truly be living up to the podcast description of a sweaty podcaster talking about true crime.
Our Instagram bio that I came up with are incredibly accurate. I was probably sweating when I wrote that bio.
That's fair.
Speaking of sweaty, though, I like to make this joke that the only truly Italian thing about me is that I sweat. My dad was born in Italy. I was born in Canada. I am not acclimated to either of those weather systems.
Right.
Although I will say we went to Italy and I did sweat, but very differently, and it felt cleaner. So maybe that's where I should be, is in Europe all the time. But yeah, I'm a sweater. And
yeah.
Ironically, I like wearing sweaters. So it's a tough time.
It is. What a living nightmare we both are in.
You know what? Truly, it is a living nightmare. Speaking of other people's living nightmares. Okay, talk to me about this person's mental anguish that isn't my own, sweating in sweaters.
Okay. Have you ever heard of Mary Webster?
Like the dictionary person?
No. Shockingly. Could you imagine if I launched into a story about the true crime surrounding Merriam-Webster?
Oh, Miriam. You said Mary.
I said Mary Webster. Yeah.
Similar names. Okay, so sorry. You're asking if I know Mary Webster. I'm not familiar. You said that...
Well,
sorry.
No, it's okay. You may know her by her other commonly known kind of nickname, which is Half-Hanged Mary.
Dictionary Mary. Half-Hanged Mary. That, okay. I'm just thinking of the bent neck lady, so...
Ooh, yes. Good image, good show. So, Mary Webster, this is another way back, was born Mary Reeve in England sometime between 1617 and 1624 to Thomas Reeve and Hannah Rowe Reeves.
It's a bit of a large time span, but cool.
It is, but that's how you know that it's really authentic history. And you're like,
may or may not have around this time.
Yeah. Approx.
Yeah, a hard approx.
So her family migrated to Springfield, Massachusetts. And with the journey at the time, it would have lasted about 6 to 8 weeks. Just on the ocean. It sounds horrid. It sounds absolutely
Lord.
Awful. In 1670, Mary marries William Webster. She is 46 and he is 53 at the time. So there's like a huge span of time where if they look into history, they can find little bits and pieces about Mary Webster, but it's not until this case happens that really, like, that's why she is known.
Got it.
So they settle in Hadley, Massachusetts, which is just 20 miles north of Springfield, where her family immigrated to.
Miles? How American of you.
I know, right? But it's just
I don't know what 20 miles is.
Isn't it something like 30? I feel like it's between 32 and 36.
Okay, see, now I know what you're talking about.
Now we know. What is this miles in our script? So Mary and William don't have a ton of money, and they live in a pretty small house, and they sometimes even need help from the townspeople just to get by.
Okay.
It's not really clear in a lot of records what the instigating moment of this is, but she is really not liked by the community.
Oh, God.
She
gives us giving her shit all the time.
Yeah,
she's constantly like, "Can I have a couple bucks?" And they're like, "Ugh, do you have all that dictionary money?"
So she gives as good as she gets, which is pretty awesome. But to me, it just seems like she's a poor aging woman, and regardless of what she might have actually been like in real life, definitely that made it way easier for people to shit on her. Like, she's at the lower end of the social spectrum.
Okay.
And
like, not very nice to be around.
Yeah, and so, like, it seems mostly like that. Like, she was just kind of grumpy. Like, literally,
I'm
and like
sitting right
older
here.
and poor. And it was like, to me, it's far more of like an act, almost the way it strikes me is like an active erasure of poverty.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, the mindset of the time being that, like, not that this has changed much, but it's just like the conversation shifted. The mindset being like, you could work your way out of that if you really wanted to. Like, if you tried harder, it was your fault. Like, this is a punishment for a sin or whatever.
Okay. So,
like, the narrative made sense, but I still think inwardly, even people who say that kind of shit now, the fact that it's just, we always push it away from us. Like, we always want to diminish it. You don't want to talk about it. Like, you could be as confident of an asshole as you like in admonishing the poor, but you still don't want to see it because I think that you still have some semblance of humanity, and you're like, it sucks.
But she was a bit of a bitch to be around, just to clarify.
It's like, but nobody can really tell who started it. So if she was like left out, but she just returned what she got.
She maybe didn't start it, but it sounds like she's going to try and finish it.
She would finish it. There's a history of Hadley that this guy had, that a guy published in 1905. And the author says that Mary was soured to the world.
Oof.
Yeah. So according to local records, animals would stop in front of Mary and William's house and just not move. And yeah. And the drivers, thinking immediately, as you do, that it's witchcraft, the drivers would literally go into the house and like chase her around and whip at her and beat her.
What?
Yeah, it was the practice known as disturbing the witch. So
Aww.
Disturbing the witch, you took her attention off her spell to make your cow stop walking.
Oh, I was thinking, when you said animals, I'm thinking like cats and dogs. Like,
that would be adorable.
Oh, yeah. But wait, why are cows just hauling ass around town?
This is like farmers
headed for Mary's house,
moving their cattle, sheep moving, and like, or even like carts laden with stuff that are being brought in with like donkeys and horses. Like, they would all just,
and they
stop
just
in front
go
of
by the Webster house, and it's like, no more. This is me now.
This is you have come thus far, no further. I shall die here.
Because of witchcraft.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, it just seems to me that the easier response by the townspeople is just don't go in front of the one fucking door in town that your animals stop at.
Yeah, I guess because she probably wasn't, like, centrally located.
I'm guessing not. Like, nobody wants her as the focal point of Hadley at this point. But they're always.
I mean, they actively beat her in her own home. Maybe the animals stopped in front of their house because the owners stopped for an excuse to be like, well, this is where my horse stopped.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
Like, after I pulled the reins on it and tied it up, and now I'm going to go distract the witch.
This horse ain't moving at all. Yeah, it's just such a weird, like, grouping of facts around this story. There's another really weird story of her walking into a house. I can't tell whose house it is.
Okay.
So walking into a house and then a hen falling down the chimney and into an open pot of boiling water.
The fuck? Yeah.
And, like, multiple, like, historical sources of people, like, just saying, oh, yeah, I heard this definitely happened. And then afterwards, she's recorded as having a mark on her arm, which people take as, like, the witch's mark.
Yeah, so it sounds like classic, she's a witch, let's get her
exactly
away from us, lies and bullshittery.
Yes. It's very much like you have definitely already come to this conclusion, and you're just every day is gathering the evidence that proves you right.
It's like in it makes me think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail when the guy was like, she turned me into a newt, and they're like, what? And he's like, I got better.
Like, well, he did. Look,
I'm better now. But she did it. Therefore, she should die.
So, like, the logic is scarily similar.
Yeah.
So she's recorded as having this mark on her arm. If this did happen, it's believed the mark was probably from getting splashed by the boiling water when a random hen fell into the pot.
Like, or when someone whipped her with something in her
maybe when someone was beating her around her fucking table. Like, maybe being one of those things.
Make my dog move!
So, in April 1683, Mary is sent to jail in Boston to await her indictment on May 22nd.
And what were the charges?
Witchcraft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she is sent back to jail after the indictment because they find that she will be standing trial until June 1st. She pleads not guilty, and then the Bostonian jury actually agrees with her, and she's sent back to Hadley. A fact I am willing to bet absolutely nobody was chill with. Like, townspeople, Mary. Like, if I were Mary, I'm gone. I'm not going back there. But, like...
Yeah, they thought they'd seen the back of...
Exactly.
Every witchy head.
And here's where we learn a little bit about Philip Smith. A 50-year-old lieutenant, a deacon, a member of the general and county courts, and a very prominent member of the Hadley community. And on January 10th, 1685, he is declared very prominently dead after prolonged and by all accounts, nightmarish illness.
Okay. COVID.
He and Mary, exactly, yeah. We should have seen this coming. The writing was on the wall in Mary's specific story. He and Mary were absolutely acquainted with each other, and it turns out that
acquainted or like acquainted, wink, 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 wink.
Oh no, like they knew each other, like they had been on each other's nerves.
Oh, okay, not a fun. Okay, I'll stop interrupting.
Yeah, now. It's not like I biblically knew her.
Oh,
it's it's very much
I want to beat her.
Yeah, pretty much. And it turns out that in the nearly 2 years since her legally decided innocence, not many opinions had changed about Mary in Hadley. So, multiple times over the course of Philip's illness, which once again, it sounds horrific. But there are enough details about his experience, and this is not his story. You can find them.
He suffered greatly, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. But the crowd is basically sure that this is supernatural, this is demonic, this is satanic, this is witchcraft. So multiple times, a group of, quote,
it just really sounds like, you mean it was metal. It was a good time.
It was great.
Like, you're listing things that now are, like, in my Google searches.
Yes, it is true.
The artwork on my walls inspired by all the words you just said.
The only cool thing anymore. So multiple times a group of brisk lads go to Mary's house to disturb her. Mm-hmm. They're whipping her, they're beating her.
They want their lambs to move.
No, they're just trying to stop her spell that is currently on Philip.
Okay.
So they believe. Mm-hmm. They beat and harass this poor woman who's in her 50s at this point.
Jesus.
And they said that during these awful beatings was the only time that Philip was seen to rest in any way.
But what?
It's bullshit. Or, like, alternatively, not bullshit. It's just how dying works sometimes. Like, you're gonna start seeming more peaceful for more, like, it's just, it boggles my mind. Like, it's just like, again, looking for any scrap of proof.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, and how can
wrong.
you, like, time that accurately and be like, oh
yeah,
what?
Exactly. Oh, it's gonna be 15 minutes to Mary's house and then a good 10-minute beating. Let's watch them then. Like, it's such a, like,
oh, you were there 20 minutes ago? Like, she was bleeding?
That throws it all off.
Oh, yeah, I think he was sleeping a little bit more quietly.
Yeah, he definitely didn't moan in pain. His
groans weren't as loud in those 45 minutes, so...
It was like tiny groans. It wasn't like one continuous scream.
He only said help me like 2 times, like...
That's wild.
And I think it's because the witch was distracted.
That's definitely how it works.
Also, there are multiple ways to distract someone.
Yes. Like, that's what I don't understand why beating is the only thing. Just like lack of imagination. Put on a skit.
Write a joke for people.
Try to come up with an appealing way to invite your friends to your improv group show.
Ours are strictly comedy based for some reason. We've gone, if you're not beating, you should be laughing.
It's a seesaw.
Also, you said she was 50. I'm thinking, like, you said this was like 1700s? 1600s?
This is around 1670.
Okay, to be in your...
1685.
To be in your 50s at that time, like, that's gotta be a hard 50.
Oh, yes. It definitely was. To be in your 50s and still have, like, suffered these beatings and stuff. Because all of that happened before she was found innocent in Boston.
Yeah.
Which is 2 years before this point. And I doubt in those 2 years they just stopped beating her when their animals happened to stop outside her house.
Yeah, probably not.
It's just like it's so rough. So one night, the group of brisk lads decides they've had enough of Philip's suffering under these dastardly satanic spells, and they show up at Mary's house. This is a little bit of a trigger warning for more graphic descriptions of violence.
Excellent.
So you can skip ahead a little bit. They drag her outside, and they put a noose around her neck.
Ooh.
And they hang her from a nearby tree.
Oh, yeah, I guess you did say that part. Yeah, I'm remembering the title now.
Yeah. They wait a while. They cut her down. I'm not sure whether they did this of sheer cruelty or disrespect or whatever, but they then roll her around in the snow.
Oh.
And then bury the body in a snowbank.
Okay, that's an odd detail.
Yeah. So despite the brisk lad gang's best efforts...
Seem easy. Wouldn't it make more sense to put snow onto the dead weight versus the heavy thing onto the snow?
It's snow. Like, you're not... Yeah. What are you doing?
Making snow angels?
Yeah, it's the weirdest. Like,
they're like, you just run up and down, hold on to her arms, and you run up and down.
That's fair. I guess we are questioning the decision-making abilities of a group of men who are like, let's hang this guy because my friend is sick. So despite the brisk lad gang's best efforts, Philip dies soon after that. Mary does not. At some point after the men left, Mary Webster woke up. She dug her way out of the snowy grave they dug for her, and then she went about her life. Because fuck Hadley at this point.
Oh my God.
William, her husband, dies 2 years after the incident. Mary outlives her husband by 9 more years.
Good Lord.
She never left Hadley. And I absolutely fucking love that about her. Like, I imagine it was such a lonely and bitter life, but she stayed there as like a constant living reminder of what the people of Hadley were capable of and what they weren't capable of. Because you can't kill Mary goddamn Webster.
Good Lord.
So as a postscript, this comes with the caveat of it involves Margaret Atwood.
Okay.
Which I don't have the time to unpack her weird things here. But despite the fact that historically we don't know that she and William had any children, Margaret Atwood believes, I'm not sure whether this is through like family search or lore or whatever, that she is actually a descendant of Mary Webster. And Atwood actually dedicated The Handmaid's Tale in 1985 to Mary Webster. And then 10 years later, she wrote a poem about Mary's experiences.
Which is probably how you found it.
Yeah, this is Half-Hanged Mary, so it's a bit long.
Okay.
But I really, really love this poem.
Okay.
And I'd love to end my story this week with the poem Half-Hanged Mary by Margaret Atwood.
Perfect.
If you are up to it.
Please.
Okay. 7 p.m. Rumor was loose in the air, hunting for some neck to land on. I was milking the cow, the barn door open to the sunset. I didn't feel the aimed word hit and go in like a soft bullet. I didn't feel the smashed flesh closing over it like water over a thrown stone. I was hanged for living alone, for having blue eyes and a sunburned skin, tattered skirts, few buttons, a weedy farm in my own name, and a surefire cure for warts. Oh, yes, and breasts. And a sweet pair hidden in my body. Whenever there's talk of demons, these come in handy. 8 p.m. The rope was an improvisation. With time, they'd have thought of axes. Up I go like a windfall in reverse, a blackened apple stuck back onto the tree. Trussed hands, rag in my mouth, a flag raised to salute the moon. Old bone-faced goddess, old original, who once took blood in return for food. The men of the town stalk homeward, excited by their show of hate, their own evil turned inside out like a glove, and me wearing it. 9 p.m. The bonnets come to stare, the dark skirts also. The upturned faces in between, mouths closed so tight they're lipless. I can see down into their eye holes and nostrils. I can see their fear. You were my friend. You too. I cured your baby, missus, and flushed yours out of you, non-wife, to save your life. Help me down? You don't dare. I might rub off on you, like soot or gossip. Birds of a feather burn together, though as a rule, ravens are singular. In a gathering like this one, the safe place is the background, pretending you can't dance. The safe stance, pointing a finger. I understand. You can't spare anything, a hand, a piece of bread, a shawl against the cold, a good word. Lord knows there isn't much to go around. You need it all. 10 p.m. Well, God, now that I'm up here, with maybe some time to kill, away from the daily finger work, leg work, work at the hen level, we can continue our quarrel, the one about free will. Is it my choice that I'm dangling like a turkey's wattles from this more than indifferent tree? If nature is your alphabet, what letter is this rope? Does my twisting body spell out grace? I hurt, therefore I am. Faith, charity, and hope are 3 dead angels falling like meteors or burning owls across the profound blank sky of your face. 12 midnight. My throat is taut against the rope, choking off words and air. I'm reduced to knotted muscle. Blood bulges in my skull. My clenched teeth hold it in. I bite down on despair. Death slits on my shoulder like a crow, waiting for my squeezed beat of a heart to burst so it can eat my eyes, or like a judge muttering about sluts and punishment and licking his lips, or like a dark angel Insidious in the glossy feathers whispering to me to be easy on myself, to breathe out finally. Trust me, he says, caressing me. Why suffer? A temptation to sink down into these definitions, to become a martyr in reverse, or food, or trash, to give up my own words for myself, my own refusals, to give up knowing, to give up pain, to let go. 2 a.m. Out of my mouth is coming, at some distance from me, a thin gnawing sound, which you could confuse with prayer, except that praying is not constrained. Or is it, Lord? Maybe it's more like being strangled than I once thought. Maybe it's a gasp for air prayer. Did those men at Pentecost want flames to shoot out of their heads? Did they ask to be tossed on the ground, gabbling like holy poultry, eyeballs bulging, as mine are? There is only one prayer. It is not the knees in the clean nightgown, on the hooked rug, I want this, I want that, oh, far beyond. Call it please, call it mercy, call it not yet, not yet. As heaven threatens to explode inward in fire and shredded flesh, and the angels caw. 3 a.m. Wind seethes in the leaves around me. The tree exudes night. Night birds yell inside my ears like stabbed hearts. My heart stutters in my fluttering cloth body. I dangle with strength going out of me. The wind seethes in my body, tattering the words I clench. My fists hold no talisman or silver disc. My lungs flail as if drowning. I call on you as witness. I did no crime. I was born. I have borne. I bear. I will be born. This is a crime I will not acknowledge. Leaves and wind hold on to me. I will not give in. 6 a.m. Sun comes up, huge and blaring. No longer a simile for God. Wrong address. I've been out there. Time is relative, let me tell you. I have lived a millennium. I would like to say my hair turned white overnight, but it didn't. Instead, it was my heart, bleached out like meat in water. Also, I'm about 3 inches taller. This is what happens when you drift in space, listening to the gospel on the red-hot stars. Pinpoints of infinity riddle my brain, a revelation of deafness at the end of my rope. I testify to silence. Don't say I'm not grateful. Most will have 1 death. I will have 2. 8 a.m. When they came to harvest my corpse, open your mouth, close your eyes, cut my body from the rope. Surprise, surprise, I was still alive. Tough luck, folks. I know the law. You can't execute me twice for the same thing. How nice. I fell to the clover, breathed it in, and bared my teeth at them in a filthy grin. You can imagine how that went over. Now I only need to look out at them through my sky-blue eyes. They see their own ill will staring them in the forehead and turn tail. Before, I was not a witch, but now I am one. Later. My body of skin waxes and wanes around my true body, a tender nimbus. I skitter over the paths and fields, mumbling to myself like crazy, mouth full of juicy adjectives and purple berries. The townsfolk dive headfirst into the bushes to get out of my way. My first death orbits my head, an ambiguous nimbus, medallion of my ordeal. No one crosses that circle. Having been hanged for something I never said, I can now say anything I can say. Holiness gleams on my dirty fingers. I eat flowers and dung, 2 forms of the same thing. I eat mice and give thanks. Blasphemies gleam and burst in my wake like lovely bubbles. I speak in tongues. My audience is owls. My audience is God, because who the hell else can understand me? Who else has been dead twice? The words boil out of me. coil after coil of sinuous possibility. The cosmos unravels from my mouth, all fullness, all vacancy. And that is the story of half-hanged Mary
Good
Webster.
Lord. Hilarious.
Such a bright spot on the evening, I know.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that everyone got to hear your, like the poem was beautiful.
I have reservations about Margaret Atwood, but
that's fine.
That poem is great. Like, it's such a good poem.
And also, it added the context of the time between them trying to, like, hang her and then, like, finding out she hadn't died.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm always a big fan of the, like, you, like, called me a witch, like, now I am one. Like,
yes.
That was
the definitely...
The Vivitch movie.
Yes. Like, the line... That was the line I first heard from the poem when I first discovered it. And I was like, I have to read this poem because that is... Like, put that on a t-shirt.
The whole thing.
Etch it into my skin. Not the whole thing. Yeah, just back.
Sorry. I thought you meant the whole poem. You just mean that.
No. Just before I was not a witch, but now I am one. I just
That's awesome.
love that line and that concept. But yeah, the story is just, I mean, it's super sad and horrific, obviously, for the way she was treated. But yeah, it's just such an intense story where I just picture her coming back from it being like, oh, you were uncomfortable with my existence before.
Yeah.
Fuck you now for the next over a decade.
That's living wild.
It's just bonkers. I love it so much.
Wow. I like that your non-death stories keep having death.
In the periphery.
I mean, half hanged.
The main criminal did die.
And this one, the name is half hanged.
I promise there's no death crime wise in the next story.
Believe it when I hear it. No, that was good though.
It also takes place in the past, but
exclusively it does.
Yes,
you are, yes, that's you. That's you to a T.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that.
Story.
You know what?
Oh, thank you.
I liked that. Thank you so much. And where did you first heard about it through the poem?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where it might have been a show, like some random, like old folklore and myths or like community folklore kind of thing show, or it might even have been a podcast, but the thing that grabbed me was those two lines.
Yeah. So what was your resource for like the rest of her life? Like, where did you hear that stuff?
Oh, there's just a bunch of there's a ton of articles that have been written with like opinion pieces about her. The people who live in Hadley now. There's a really interesting article that we can link in the show notes that was written by a woman who grew up and lives in Hadley.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of has these, like, maps it out mentally in her mind, like where everything would have taken place and the kind of person she was. And it was very good. But then there are also a ton of just like little historical documents. And of course, this was less than 10 years, but say about a decade before the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So one of the people that wrote about Mary was actually Cotton Mather, who was one of the main figures in the Salem witch trials, and he wrote about the case again as if it meant something, like if it was proven, like in like a court of law or something. He would mention Philip's death.
Oh, like as if it was fact, like, and this woman.
Yeah, like he was talking about, he wasn't reporting historical fact. It was basically like
historical opinion.
Gathering. Yeah, basically.
That's interesting.
And he was a big name at the time, so it kind of,
well, that's interesting too, because obviously so much of what you're saying, like, it makes you think of the Salem witch trials. So that makes sense that someone would be like, oh, did you note that, like, maybe animals stop in front of her house, or like maybe when she was distracted, like, It just is so easy
it's all those
to
little experiences
do that like
and
group
things,
think
right?
thing and like influence people's thoughts.
Yeah. And like the stories that you've heard probably from a million different people.
Yeah.
That at this point you can't even remember the people that you heard it from.
Yeah.
That you're just thinking like, oh yeah, one of those features is that animals stop in front of their house, or oh, they do have these like these dispositions or these markings or whatever. Like I've seen it, I've heard it.
Yeah,
I've
like oh yeah, my friend's friend saw it, so for sure.
Exactly.
And really, I think it just goes to show you like what you were talking about before about like people hate poverty, people hate women, people hate people that go against societal expectations. And so how can we, like, people get so confused by it that it's like, how can you not want to fall in line or something, that like there must be something wrong with you? And at that point when like religion is everything, like good is God, bad is Satan. So like if you don't want to do these things, obviously you must not want to be like good or with God. Like it's just these like wild leaps and bounds of assumptions just because people aren't the same as everyone.
It's that experience too, like what you were saying with somebody not falling in line.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that always thinks of those kind of mental leaps coming from a place of like, well, you're doing the wrong thing and you should be doing the right thing that we're doing. But there's also that other side to that where like you look at the rigidity of Puritan society, no one seemed happy or content
or could
in any way.
Could actually live it.
Exactly.
But it's the fact that
an
like
impossible standard.
Well, you hide it. Like you publicly live it. But if someone's like, I'm not living that, like fuck that. It's like, wow.
It's almost that it's that fueled by this like envy almost.
Oh yeah.
Like in the back of their minds of like, why the fuck do you get to live
100%.
an ounce of how you want to live versus like I'm making all of these things and I still feel like I'm going to hell. I still feel like I'm the worst community member. So it's definitely
So you shame
such
someone
a weird,
else. Yeah.
Yeah. And you look at the conversation around like the modicum of student debt forgiveness that they've done in the States, and it's the exact same reaction, right? Like, well, I didn't get that, so why should you get that? And it's like, do you not like, if you can't see the flawed logic and you are like arguing from a definitive place instead of just trying to troll people, but like just extend that to literally anything else. Yeah. So like they come up with the cure for prostate cancer and you're like, well, it would be unethical to use it because of all the past people that didn't have access. And you're like, that's the logic of that thought. And it just like, it's very strange. I think about that a lot, especially ever since the last podcast episodes on the Black Death, about how like it's so far from us that it's easy to see them as different people. And culturally, linguistically, all of that stuff, like it is very true. Like there's such huge differences, but our brains are the same brains. Like that is just that's not an evolutionary time scale. No, so we're operating with the same machinery.
Well, everything you're
and,
saying,
like, you can see the same gears like moving. Like,
that happens now. Like everything you were listing, I feel like that daily, just living as a trans person. Like just even getting like my pronouns correct. It's like, oh well, I didn't have that back in my day. Therefore, like having to wrap my brain around it now is like frustrating or confusing or overwhelming, or like you have to be patient with me or something. And it's like, you see the like that how I don't know, people operate on this like fear of like, whoa, you get to do whatever you want. Like I never thought that I could do that. Like even as like a polyamorous person, people are like, whoa, you can't have like your cake and eat it too. And I'm like, just watch me. It's like people fear what they don't know instead of curiosity.
Yes. Yeah. It's very true.
And that like mob
Yeah,
mentality as well of like, well, there was a like that town, they all like maybe like an unspoken agreement of how that town was going to run, and like here's this like red spot in their mind of like, well, they're not falling in line, and so we need to do everything we can to find a reason to like expunge the problem.
Yeah, and then thinking that it solves any overarching issues.
Exactly.
Well.
Like we will be happy on the other side of this.
Yeah, it's a very, I guess it's like, it's black and white magical thinking, basically. Like it's like, we need to excise this tumor, and then it'll be fine. But it's not, you didn't adjust any of your habits.
No, they're just going to move on to the
smoke
next.
12 packs a day. Like, you're going to just do the next thing that's easier to do than...
Or then you just focus on the next problem.
Issues.
Yeah, that you destroy instead of confronting your own. Yeah. Oh, man. Society. We just got into like... This is not a funny episode is what I'm trying to say. We've not been funny once at all.
It's not tagged comedy.
I might have to re-tag it. But just wait. Because I think mine will make you laugh.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
Teach me.
So, I am like beyond excited to tell this story. So, a lot of my info comes from a Vanity Fair article that was written by John Falk, Falk.
Okay.
How would you say that?
Falk, I guess.
All right. Shouldn't have said the first one I said. So anyways, so I first heard about this through a movie that I have recommended to you, Adam, so many times. And I want to know if you saw it. American Animals?
No, I still haven't seen it.
Well, sorry. Don't be, because this is the moment I've been waiting for. I'm so excited. So.
Perfect.
The movie, is by the same director who did The Imposter.
Ooh,
which is another story we should totally tell here on some point. So like, just as a little aside, this movie is like so good, and I like really suggest people watch it. It does this like incredible thing of like blending documentary with like a scripted film. So there'll be parts in this story where like, so the real people in this story are in the movie, but then there's also the actor versions of them. And like there's not many of them, but like there's one scene where the actor is in the same car as the real person. And there's like, when they're these two friends are telling their version of events, one of them remembers it at a party, one of them remembers it in the car. So we see the conversation, like them having the same conversation, but it'll flip between the two scenes of them in a car and them in the party.
I do remember you telling me this.
Yes.
That was like, though, because you've recommended this movie a few times.
This is what I'm saying.
That was the description that I was like, oh my God. That
so
good.
It's so good. So, the movie's called American Animals. This story is often known as the Transylvania Book Heist. Or as it's sometimes referred to as the Transy Book Heist. Eek. Because, so Transylvania is the school that it took place at. And so people would often affectionately call their school Transy. Okay. You should start affectionately calling me Transy.
Okay.
That was a joke. Don't do that. So Warren Lipka and Spencer Reinhard, they are an unlikely duo. They have been friends since they were 8 years old. They grew up in the same subdivision in Lexington, Kentucky, but they seemed like total opposites. Where Warren was chaotic, loud, a jock, Spencer was an artist, hardworking, quiet, overachieving, excellent at whatever he tried. The main thing that the two had in common was soccer. So they actually went to different high schools, but they stayed friends through that. And they were both varsity captains at their school and both made All-State at their own school. And there was, and there was a picture of them in the paper, where like super dramatic looking, they're like mid-air, like doing a soccer move. I don't know soccer. I played soccer because like I was forced to as a child, as many children are.
Right.
So they did a soccer move and it made a paper.
I love that description. It's perfect.
I also keep doing something with my arms, which is an interesting movement since soccer, I believe, is famously not using your arms.
No, but they all have to hold them up like this.
I think that's rugby. Oh, the arms.
Not just the arms. They're like, I'm not touching it. I'm not using them.
You have to like show your hands at all times. So anyways, but the picture made the paper. So it made them kind of like local heroes.
Oh, okay.
So our story starts in the fall of 2003. So Warren, who was like the loud jock one, receives a full athletic scholarship to the University of Kentucky. Whereas Spencer, the quiet one, gets an art scholarship to Transy, Transylvania, where he's hoping to go on and become a graphic designer. So university is not really proving to live up to either one of their fantasies. Hard relate. Spencer, he joined the soccer team at his school, but he was like hardly like able to play. Spencer's the like quiet one. Like he's barely getting on the field. Right. He tries to pledge at a frat and he's like, he's not really feeling it. And then he said this like super sexist thing in the article I read about how he was like the only guy in all of his art classes. And he was like, I could draw better than these girls when I was in 6th grade.
Oh, come on, man. I was with you.
I mean,
they had to be a dick for no reason.
It happens. I mean, you were with him. He's the criminal in the story.
I mean, he's an artist. He's tortured.
You're like,
he's misunderstood.
You see yourself in him.
Yeah, I won't. He does soccer moves.
Yes, you are a soccer mover.
I exclusively move in soccer moves.
Did you play soccer as a kid?
I did, but never on like a team or anything like that. It was always just casually.
Casual.
Just casual soccer.
When you said not on a team, I thought you meant like just you in your backyard. Like I played soccer, like I did moves against me and the back wall, just kicking the ball.
Yeah, it's great. You know,
oh my God.
That's your dream summer. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want from me.
These are two introverts. Oh my God. So on the other hand, Warren, he's got like more than just school kind of going on. His parents are getting a divorce, and his father, who had been this like celebrated coach of a women's university soccer team, had like gambled all of the family money away, and they had to declare bankruptcy. So he's like going through that, plus like first year of university.
Right.
He's like becoming depressed. He stops going to classes. He's smoking a ton of weed. I put in brackets, I feel attacked. And this made me laugh. According to the article, he, quote, was watching a lot of Comedy Central and reading German philosophy.
What a mix.
Like, what is happening in your life that those are the two pastimes?
That's true.
Like, you need a laugh, so you go to the German philosophy.
Obviously, yeah.
That was true. Thank you. Lost my place. So, in October, it's like a month in to their first year, Warren quits the soccer team, which forfeits his scholarship. And so, like, he was technically still enrolled at the school, but kind of just in name. Like, it hadn't really, like, worked itself out yet. And so he's just kind of like bumming around campus, and he meets this guy who we never get his name, but he's like Warren's I got a guy, you know what I mean?
Okay yeah.
So Warren starts selling fake IDs for this guy, and he realizes, like, you know what, I think I want someone to like help me sell this so I can get some more money. And he brings in this old soccer friend of his, Eric Borzik. So the two, they work really well together, but they end up getting into a fight over $2,000 that went missing from Eric's drawer.
Whoops.
Yeah. So, like, obviously Eric's like, Warren, what the fuck? And Warren's like, ugh. That's what I assume Warren sounded like.
I know the guy.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
We're all picturing the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up, like, going different ways for a little bit. So Warren, in need of a new business partner, ring ring, calls up his old pal Soccer Spencer. Spencer Soccer.
Whoa. Spencer Soccer.
So, like, how this part is a little hazy, how it's brought up. This is the part in the movie where I was saying, like, it flips between where they have the conversation.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because it's, like, a little hazy about, like, how this came up. But basically, it sounds like Warren came to Spencer asking him to sell fake IDs with him. And Spencer's like, I'll do you one better. During my orientation, we went on a tour of the library. Stay with me. And we saw the special collections. These incredibly rare, beautiful old books. But the most treasured of the collection was a book called Birds of America by John James Audubon. It's the good name, right? Oh, do you know who that is?
Yeah. I mean, apparently he was a real asshole, but the Audubon, like, society, like, that's...
Oh, I only know it as, like, the German highway with no speed limit.
Yeah, rocket car on the Autobahn. What? I forget how. I actually just recently found this out. I think I was looking into, like, different bird manuals and stuff. I took a deep dive one morning.
As you do.
About, like, yeah, as you do. And then it came up, and that was what I thought of, too. I was like, why do they keep talking about this fucking highway in Germany?
It's so funny you say that, because, like, they stopped calling him John James, like, in everything. Like, they just refer to him as Audubon. And, like, the first time I was reading this, I was like, what the fuck are we, like, what, why are we saying the word Audubon? Like, what does that have to do with anything? And then I was like, oh, it's the dude's name. It's a weird name.
Yes.
But he had these, or he made these books.
Right, yeah.
So it's a 4-volume set, super heavy books. And they're full of these life-size engravings of pioneer wildlife. And it was completed in 1838. Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
Holy
right up your alley.
Oh, those are going to be such gorgeous books.
They're beautiful.
Wowzers.
And they're, like, heavily featured in the movie. Like, the drawings and stuff. They're so beautiful. So the 4-volume set, it was only one of 200 produced.
Whoa.
So incredibly rare. And during the tour, the librarian mentioned that they had sold a similar set to, like, this Audubon one, like, 4 years ago, and then it had sold for something like $8 to $12 million.
Whew. All right, yeah, that is one step higher than selling fake IDs.
You get it. You get how it goes.
Yeah.
The tier.
Yeah.
As someone who, like, never broke a rule for a very long time, that's how I would do it.
Yes, exactly. It's just because we now know all of the rules. We had to figure them out first to realize which ones are the ones worth breaking.
Or which ones make my tummy hurt the least to break.
That's very fair.
Like,
yes,
that makes my tummy hurt. I don't like it.
Oh, I don't like that one.
No, I don't like it.
That's a key.
Yeah, that one I could live with. There's only a little self-loathing with when I do that lie.
Yeah.
So when Spencer tells Warren about the books and the $12 million, he's like, $12 million just sitting there? They got security on that? So the two say that it sparked their imagination. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if... Like, that's the type of talking that they were doing.
Right.
Wouldn't it be wild if...
But this strikes me as, like, the conversation that, like, a 13-year-old boy has with their, like, best girlfriend in school. And they're like, wouldn't it be weird if we, like...
Kissed right now?
It'd be so weird, but, like, what if we did?
Oh, my God. That is exactly the energy.
Perfect.
Oh my God. Also me to so many of my lady friends. We're both straight, right? So, yeah, so they're saying, like, wouldn't it be crazy if, but then they start to say, like, let's look into this more, but the quote is very unofficial.
I love that.
Yeah, ridiculous. So Spencer starts scoping out the special collection section, and he sees that there is zero security. The only thing standing between Joe Schmo walking off the street and seeing those books is a sign-in book. Like, you should have to sign your name. And the university librarian, Betty Jean Gooch.
Ooh, Betty Jean!
Better known as the Goocher! No, I was going to say, this is not even a lie. She's better known as BJ. BJ Gooch.
Okay. BJ Gooch. Okay, I gotcha. All right. Yeah, good for her. Strong name. Character building.
Like, you just know that I'm picturing such a specific part of a body when I hear the word BJ Gooch.
It is evocative.
It's evocative. Oh my god. So, the quickest aside about librarians, because you know I can't help myself.
Yes, please.
My background is in librarians, everybody. And by librarians, I mean libraries. Wow.
I've watched a lot of librarians in my day.
Wow. Let me restart this. My background is in libraries. I love librarians. I've been in, my background's in them.
Specialized.
I think they are heroes among us. I think libraries are very important. That's a soapbox for another day. I think this particular librarian is amazing, and she clearly loved her job, and very nerdily, I get a thrill talking about libraries and librarians.
I love it.
But this old gal BJ Gooch should not have been the security. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, Gooch does not strike fear into the hearts of
men. No. Did you say of men?
Yeah, I think I was quoting Lord of the Rings.
Okay. I was gonna say. So, so according to Spencer and Warren, especially in these early stages, there's they are trying to emphasize this was fantasy. Let's see how far we can get into planning the heist. And they kept expecting a hurdle to come up. So it was let's keep planning until something too big gets in the way, and then we'll stop. That's what they say.
Okay, yeah. All right, gotcha.
And apparently that hurdle never appears, but some of them are hurdles I would have very quickly stopped at, but it was unofficial to them.
Yeah, we're just playing around. We're just messing around.
It's just fantasy. So
it's fine. If we kiss, it's dark. It doesn't matter.
No one will know. I won't tell anyone. So one such hurdle was how do you take book and turn book into money? How does book equal money? Warren, he's got a guy.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Warren talks to his contact, his nameless fake ID mob boss. I've been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto 3, so I understand how these things work. Uh-huh. And that guy puts Warren in touch with someone in New York. So so basically they're looking for a fence. They're asking this guy about it, and he's like, I have someone in New York who can help you. The guy that they get in touch with, he identifies himself as Barry. And he tells Warren, bring $500 of good faith money to a drop-off at the southern entrance of Central Park. So they're in Kentucky. So they have to go from Kentucky to New York. These two go on a mid-February road trip. They use one of the fake IDs that they have wide open access to
just piles.
They got a lot to choose from. So they use one of those to check into the hotel, and they use only cash to not leave a trail.
Smart.
For now. The next day, they go to the drop-off. The man describes himself as an older man with a long ponytail, and I'll be wearing a green scarf.
Perfect.
That's how you'll recognize me. I'm Barry. So they meet up with him, and at first Barry's like, oh, you're legit children. Not what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
But they soothe him, you know, it's all good, it's all good. Here's $500. Shh, don't ask any questions. And so they hand over the $500 and they receive a piece of paper with an email address on it.
Oh boy.
Definitely worth the $500. And there's instructions that they should sign off their emails with the name Terry. Which makes me think that Barry isn't his name if they're just going with Barry, Terry, Larry.
all these names rhyme.
Gary, Sherry, Mary,
Bo
Barry. Can't not think of names. So the boys, they head home and they set up a Yahoo account. It's 2003 to send their correspondence. In the email, they claim that they already have the books. They just say, we have rare books in our possession, but they don't specify on the titles. And they sign off, of course, as Terry. They have to wait a week for a response. I feel like I would be shitting myself. Yeah. And the response is telling Terry that if they want to sell something, they have to go meet the person, like in person, in Amsterdam. That's where this person does business. So if you want to sell me your rare books, you got to come to Amsterdam. This to me would be one of those hurdles.
Yeah, that's definitely well, now this just became an international crime.
Exactly.
Yes.
But apparently they were like, score. This is great news.
I've always wanted to go to Amsterdam.
I mean, I won't lie.
Sign.
Amsterdam's amazing. Everyone should go. The museums, the views, obviously, all of it. So, but I thought that would have been like stressful, but they were like, this is great. So they get a fake passport from Warren's.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're just like amping up their crimes. And this is just fantasy, Adam.
It's just, we're just snowballing.
It's the brainstorming session. There's no bad ideas.
No bad. This is a point counterpoint, baby.
They get the fake passport for $2,500. And that's the thing, too.
That seems very cheap.
Okay. Clearly, you and I have different pay brackets.
Oh, I always associate criminal stuff with, like...
Yeah, but do you know how much a regular passport costs?
Yeah, they're already too expensive.
Yeah, but way, way, way less than $2,500.
That is true. But they're legal, I guess.
But also, in first year, like, I didn't have access to that money.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I don't know, like, how would they... Did they come from wealthy backgrounds?
Like, it sounds like they came from, like, affluent, at least. Like, they lived in a suburb, but it sounded to me like middle class, maybe upper middle class. So, like, maybe they had access to that from their parents, but even that, like, I just can't imagine being like, I need $2,500 and this is good news because I'm going to Amsterdam.
Right. Because, yeah, like...
It's just wild. But because of that, though, because of the cost, they decide they're only going to send Warren in an effort to save money.
Okay. Smart.
Yes.
Financial decision.
At least they did that. So in the article, this killed me. It said that he, quote, scored a joint in Amsterdam. It's Amsterdam. You don't score shit. You like walk into literally anywhere and buy it pre-rolled.
Oh my god, scored a joint.
Like,
is the writer of this article a cop? If they are, they have to tell us.
Oh
Otherwise, it's entrapment.
By a narc. Like, I can't even express, like, when I went to Amsterdam, it was before weed was legalized in Canada, and I likened the experience to, like, going into, like, David's Tea, like a tea shop, because I was looking around and I was like, oh, wow, like, that's an interesting, like, that says lavender, and the person, like, pulled it down and let me smell it, and we were talking about it, and then you walk out and you're like, I was just talking about weed, like, this is wild. Like, I usually get it in a baggie full of stems.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah, that would be a weird contrast.
It just killed me that they're like...
hilarious way of putting it.
Because they're clearly trying to paint him as this, like, grungy, grody kid. And they're like, he scored a joint in Amsterdam.
Yeah, because you know who scores joints in Amsterdam?
Grody teens.
Unscrupulous characters.
I can't believe I didn't even... Yes, exactly. Right on the money. So the next morning is the meeting in Amsterdam. Warren goes in. He introduces himself as Terry. And just like Barry, the men are like, you are a child. Like, you are a young baby. Why are you here? And also, bro, why did you not bring any books to Amsterdam? Why didn't you bring proof with you? Why don't you have photos or photocopies or documentation to prove you even have these things in your possession? Like, he just rocked up in probably a suit that was way too big for him, being like, I'm Terry, baby.
He's carrying an empty briefcase.
Exactly. Full of joints he scored.
Yeah, and a mug that says buy low, sell high.
Yeah. And it has, like, is that supposed to be a weed pun?
No.
Oh.
He'd be like, yes, I am businessman.
I am businessman, but I also like to party. Because it has the little pun. Yes. So anyways, he, like, talks them down. Guys, shh, I'm legit. Trust Barry. Like, Barry believed me. You need to believe me. It's all good. They tell him you need to get the items appraised to make them legitimate, and then we will do business with you.
Okay, that's another hurdle for me.
Yeah, to me, like, oh my God. Also, it doesn't matter. I was going to say going to Europe by myself would be a hurdle do like criminal activity. So Warren starts Googling around, looking at auction houses that can appraise the books for them once they get them. And he decides on Christie's in New York. Now, I don't know anything about, like, appraisals and stuff, but, like, I know that name. Like, I have heard Christie's in New York, probably from Sex and the City, but, like, it has to be the most famous auction house. And his thinking is, if we're going in there, they're not going to suspect these are stolen because no one would bring in stolen books to Christie's to get it appraised.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Warren's rationale a lot of the time was like, be more obvious, the less they'll notice you.
Which, I mean, works in some cases.
Okay, I love that you said that, because what I thought of was in the movie Below, when he is like, what you do when you're walking through an airport with cocaine is think about anything else other than the fact that you're holding cocaine. Like, don't be obvious. And Warren is like, yo, I stole these things. Here they are in front of your face.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more obvious. So we are getting to the end of their first year of university, and they start to realize we're going to need a bit more people on this. And Warren decides to call in his old fake ID buddy, Eric, that they had the falling out over the money.
Right.
So
seems like a real trustworthy character for Warren to...
No, Warren stole the money from Eric.
Oh, okay.
Well,
then, Eric, what do you think?
shouldn't say that. Eric suspected Warren stole the money, but Eric's the one who lost the money.
Gotcha.
So Warren calls Eric and invites him up for pizza. And they, like, talk. They bury the hatchet over the whole situation. And Eric is, like, probably a couple beers in. He says to Eric, I've talked to these guys. I've met with them, and they think that we have these rare books. But now we're on to the hard part. We have to steal them. You in? Basically.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eric says yes. So over the summer break, they return home because they were, like, living on campus. But between their summer jobs and, like, soccer training and all that, they don't get, like, a ton of time. But the three of them, they would meet up between, like, their activities, and they would just, like, fantasize about, like, how great their lives were going to be after the heist. Like, it's clearly so romanticized in their minds that, like...
It really is. Yeah. Like, I mean, and I guess, like, at this point, that totally makes sense to me. Like, you've decided to pull off a heist after, like, the one criminal experience that half of your original duo has is selling fake IDs.
Yeah.
And, like, just, like, ramping up so much, and at every turn, it is like a movie. Like, drive into New York, meet this guy. Oh, you've got to fly to Amsterdam. Like, I would be like, we are fucking killing this.
Yes,
like,
yeah. And you were picking up exactly. Like, that's how they talk about it. And we'll get into it more, but movies were a big thing for them. Like, they watched heist movies to prepare. Like, they would watch the Ocean's 11 movies and be like, that's us. So, but we'll get into that in a bit. So, fall, second year of university, Warren is living in a basement apartment, like a bachelor unit. And he's not going to school this semester. So, like, he dropped out before he forfeited his scholarship, and he decided to take off the next semester to, quote, focus full time on the heist. How do you explain that to your parents?
Smart. It's good decision. You can spin it.
I don't see saying, like, I'm taking the semester off. Like, what's going on? Like, I just want to focus on myself, and I might come into some money afterwards.
Yeah, it's just my self-care year. I have to spend the next year sleeping in a haunted house, and if I do, I get a bunch of money at the end.
Don't worry about it, though. It's gonna be fun.
It's fine.
Yeah. You can visit me. So he's living in this, like, basement apartment. It's near campus. Eric is renting a room upstairs in the same house.
Oh, okay.
And Spencer is living in the dorms at his school, Transylvania, which is where the books are.
Gotcha. You think that they wouldn't really want to connect the two? Like, I can see in their minds how they're like, we can't live together, but we can live on different levels. Yeah. They'll never know.
We can't talk through the floor.
No criminal has ever lived in the house with the other criminal.
No, I think it's going to work out really, really well.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So they're planning more, but they start to realize they're going to need some muscle. These books are life-size engravings. Like, they are big. And they decide to ask this other boy who lives in the house, and he actually co-owns the house with his dad. His name is Chaz Allen.
Wowzers.
C-H-A-S. So, quick note on Chaz. He was the only one not to agree to be a part of the Vanity Fair article. It sounded like out of the four boys, he was sort of the odd one out. He didn't really get along with everyone the same way that the kind of core three did.
Oh,
he is in the movie, like the real one, the real Chaz, and we do find out what happened to him later. But yeah, just he's kind of a little different than the other ones. But he hears the plan, and at first he mocks them and he calls them deluded potheads. Again, I feel attacked.
Yeah, what the hell?
What is wrong with delusion and potheadery? But once he hears more about the plan and, like, the fact that they've talked to people and the Amsterdam contact, he's on board. So in preparation for the heist, Spencer is spending a lot of the time at the library. He's drawing sketches of inside the library, the rare book, like, room itself, which, like, of course was the target. And he's making several appointments with BJ, the librarian, to scout things out. The Goochster. Together, they're documenting things like staff routines, viable escape routes. They survey the offices of the campus police. They climb onto dorm rooms, like, that are across from the library, the roof of the dorm room, to stake at the library for hours. They mark down coming and goings of teachers, students, security. They start researching things online, like auction house appraisals, stun guns, Swiss bank accounts, And my favorite detail, probably the one I relate to the most, is they watched several heist films, as I was saying before, like Ocean's 11 and Snatch, both starring Brad Pitt. Just a note. So this is, like, in their mind, this is preparation. We'll watch these movies. We'll learn from it.
Yeah, this is research.
It is. And, like, that's where, obviously, it's so romanticized. Is, like, and I fully relate to thinking movies are like real life. But I didn't then try and steal things.
Yes, based on you didn't use it as step-by-step how-to.
No, I didn't watch The Perfect Score with Scarlett Johansson way back in the day and Chris Evans and think I will steal SAT scores. I stole haircuts from movies I liked. That was it. So they decide on a date for the heist, and it's going to be Thursday, December 16th, which is one of the last days of final exams, meaning that the library is basically going to be empty.
Okay.
Warren invites all of them over, and he lays out his plan. Phase 1. It begins at home. Together, all 4 of them are going to get into what Warren calls the GTAV, the go-to and away vehicle. Girl.
Oh, boy.
Come on
now. Also, when you said phase 1, it starts with a well-balanced breakfast.
It does.
All of you get a real nice sleep. I want you all rested.
I have orange juice and donuts in the morning at my house.
No mimosas. We need to be clear-headed,
Absolutely.
boys.
Don't go out the night before. Yeah. We've talked about this.
Yeah, please.
So the young boys decided that they are going to disguise themselves as old men.
Okay.
That's their thought process.
Do they have a reasoning behind this? Other than, like, we can't look like us.
I think it's that, and I think it's a little bit like people usually ignore elderly people. Not on a university campus.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's their mindset. You know, that's what we're going to do. This is the phase. Adam, don't ruin the phases.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
You're on the phase 2, now you're on phase 3.
Excuse you, we're still on phase 1. You are way ahead.
Oh, we're still on phase
1.
This is a big phase.
It's a big phase. Okay. It's getting together at home, probably having a good breakfast, getting dressed up as old men together.
Very erotic.
They're going to park the van out in front of the library. The 4 of them are now in the first position at the bottom of the stairs of the library. Phase 2, the actual theft. It starts with Spencer taking position in the athletic center nearby, where he's going to act as the lookout from the upper floor, because just like you had pointed out before, he's a student there. They don't want to risk a ton of association, so he can't be around. Gotcha. So he's going to be across the street being lookout in another building. Next, Warren and Chaz are going to go up to the rare book room, and Warren will, quote, bring Gooch down hard and fast. Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And that's what the stun guns were for, though. They wanted to bring her down hard and fast with the stun gun, making her, quote, a non-factor throughout the operation.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Poor BJ Gooch. Is there a picture of the Goocher?
I have seen what she looks like in real life. The actress who plays her, I feel like it. Do you remember in Hereditary, the woman at the grief thing who was like, she'd lost her grandson?
Yes.
I'm pretty positive that's the actress who plays her.
Whoa.
So kind of a like middle age. They probably dressed her up a little frumpy looking in the movie. Sweet, gotcha. Unassuming.
Yeah, just not a person you'd ever feel okay just watching get stunned.
Exactly. And on like even going like through my schooling, like there was kind of a joke about like how stress-free libraries are as a job. So like, because like you're just kind of in a quiet space all day. So yeah, she definitely would be this, like this wouldn't even cross her mind that this is like she has to protect something.
Right.
So after that's going to happen, after she gets a non-factor, Warren and Chaz will then let Eric in, and they're going to start wrapping up the books in bed sheets and grabbing any of the smaller books that they can and just like shoving them in their backpacks.
Okay.
The three will then take the staff-only elevator down to the bottom floor and escape out of the west fire exit and jump into the van. Phase 3, the escape. The getaway car, because I refuse to call it the GTAV, the getaway car will be switched out for a second vehicle at a secret location, which will be used to transport the team and loot to a temporary resting place. They're certain that the stolen books are going to be entered into an art theft database. I don't even know if that's real. Within a week. So they're like, we got to get to Christie's like immediately. The team, they all agree to the plan. Warren makes an appointment with Christie's under the name Walter Beckman. He used a public phone to make the call and campus computers for all emails. Using that same email address, he sends a confirmation email to BJ regarding their appointment. He orders a stun gun online, and Eric lines up his getaway car with an unsuspecting friend. You're welcome. He also gets his hand on some zip ties, a wool cap, electrician's tape, and bed sheets. So he seems like a fun character.
Yeah, okay.
Spencer is on costume detail. He collects fake beards, gray wigs, costume glue. This makes me laugh so hard. The timing wasn't working out for Spencer to apply his costume in time because he had an art history exam that day. And he tries to change the exam, which like doesn't work. So Warren has to call BJ and reschedule for a little bit later in the day. So like already that doesn't sound like a smooth plan to me.
Nope, it does not.
So it's the day of the show, y'all. It's here.
My God.
Do you think it's going to go according to plan, Adam?
I think it's going to go so well. And these guys are just criming it up out there to this day.
Yeah, they're telling this story from like a secluded place in Switzerland.
Yeah, where they're like in the documentary, but they're in the background and their faces are
absolutely.
And they all sound like they're talking underwater.
Absolutely. You are incorrect. It begins to fall apart immediately.
No fucking balance bracket.
No, so someone forgot the Pop-Tarts. The orange juice had pulp. It was supposed to have no pulp. It was a whole thing.
Oh my God.
And then they just fell off for the day.
Me a drink and a chore.
Exactly. And like they just fell off. No breakfast. First, Eric can't get a hold of his friend with the car.
Oh boy.
It's a big one.
This is perfect. This is
yes.
perfect.
So okay. Chaz has to borrow his mom's Dodge Caravan.
Oh yes.
But luckily, she just happened to be selling it the next day. So it would have, so like it actually is great.
Why did you not mention this before? Oh, God.
I know. Well, yeah, I guess incorporating your parents' stuff is maybe a little scarier.
That's fair, but like no, like over the whole planning, not a single time where they're like, should we get a backup car?
No.
Just in case. They're like, no, my friend is gold for their car.
Do I need to remind you that they watched Ocean's 11 to prepare?
That is true. Do you think they got there and they were like,
where's Julie Roberts?
Which one of us is Don Cheadle?
I want to be Brad Pitt because I like eating.
Every role.
I know. It's amazing. Well, that's like his thing. So anyways, the stun guns that Warren had ordered did not arrive in time.
Okay.
Pre-Amazon Prime. So last minute, he procures, it's called a Black Cobra stun pen. It says in the article that they zapped each other to test the knockdown power. It doesn't say like what the conclusion was of that test, but they end up using it, like bringing it. So obviously they were like, this must be fine. They get to campus in the Dodge Caravan. Can you believe it? They can't find close parking.
Oh no.
So once they get a parking spot, they get in the library, they start getting glances, walking. Not in the library yet. They start getting glances because it's old men walking around a university campus.
Yeah.
One of which his facial hair is falling off because Spencer didn't have time after his exam. And so it's all floppy.
Oh, and he's just like, it's okay, I'm just really old.
Yeah, I'm that old, everybody. You don't understand what happens when you reach a certain age. Your hair just starts falling off of you.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here. So with all that going on, there's also a group of people who are just like chilling in the rare books room and like in the way. So they have a team huddle and they decide abort mission and go home. And that was it. They got their lives back on track and they went to school and that's the end of the story. No, I'm kidding.
Could you imagine?
Well, that's what they should have done. But that night, Warren calls BJ Gooch and apologizes for his absence and has to reschedule for the next day. So this is now the second rescheduling. The third appointment he's made. Like, this is not... It's driving me nuts. Like with the whole hurdle comment, it's like, guys, you've hit so many hurdles you should have stopped at.
Yeah.
So they decide they have to revise their plan. So the new plan, no more old man makeup. Spencer probably failed that fucking exam for nothing.
Oh, poor Spency.
They're going to go in as...
What was the exam?
Art history.
Remember what it was? Art history.
Yeah. So they decide they're going to go in as themselves. And this time, only Warren and Eric are going to enter the library. Chaz will stay in the car.
Okay. Wait, the guy they got as the muscle is staying in the car.
Correct.
This is a great...
It's the revision.
The revision. Yeah, they were like, you know what the problem is that the strong guy was with us.
Yeah, I think he probably brought us down a little bit. Yeah, you're so right. I don't know why they even thought about that. Anyways. So the idea was that Eric is going to stay on the main floor. Warren is going to go up and meet with BJ, subdue her gooch, and then he was going to call Eric up. They decided that they would haul the books in 2 trips, which sounds ludicrous to me.
Yeah, that is absolutely.
So they're going to do it in 2 trips to the van where Chaz is waiting for them, the muscle.
Okay.
Spencer was going to communicate to Warren through his cell phone that Warren was just going to steal the morning of. Something he's maybe never done before. I'm just going to steal it. Ridiculous. Again, I'm thinking of Grand Theft Auto. It would have been a lot easier than that. So the whole thing that they were hoping was going to be done by 12:30. Just in time for a Panera Bread lunch.
Perfect. Gotta get me that bread bowl.
They had to finish up by then, actually, because Chaz's mom had to sell her damn car.
Oh, that's right. This is super inconvenient for Chaz's mom, Chaz.
Yes.
Is what I imagine
she's gonna be like
to him the morning of.
Yeah, why is there no gas in my fucking car I'm trying to sell?
Chaz, are you asking me, Chaz's mom, if you could take my van again?
Yes, Mom.
Second day in a row. On the day I sell my Dodge Caravan.
See, that would be weird too. Like, day of, I do not see my mother agreeing to that.
Yeah, absolutely not. It'd be like, whatever it is, it can wait until after.
Absolutely. But Mom, you have no idea. So the idea was that they would be done by 12:30. Chaz would be home in time to sell the car, and he would just drop Spencer and Eric off at their final exams on the way. After they do this heist. And for added anonymity, Warren was like, you know what? I'm just going to bleach my hair the night before.
Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, sure. At this point, why not?
Let's
like,
just throw on.
You're
I want to look like Marshall goddamn Mathers while I do this.
What is the what is the hairstyle that screams?
Don't look at me.
Subterfuge. Do not look, do not remember.
White guy, bleached hair. Probably singing Stan under his breath. All right. New day of the show, y'all. Rewrites are in. Everyone's got their new pages. Here we go. 11 a.m. Chaz slides into the perfect parking spot. So already going better.
Oh, it's going
a lot better than before. And he watches Eric and Warren enter the library. Eric gets the call from Warren. Come on up, meet me. It's time for your part. But then when he gets upstairs, it's not Warren who lets him in the room. It's BJ. Warren did not subdue her.
Oh, boy.
Eric is pissed. He did not want to be there for this part. He comes up with a fake name real quick and he starts walking around the room, looking at stuff, trying to like chat away. Okay, so trigger warning time. So skip ahead just a little bit if you're not into it. Shutting the door behind him, Warren tackles BJ and Eric ties her up with zip ties. And Warren says, "Quit struggling, BJ." Now later, this is going to be a big clue for cops because she'd been called by her nickname. He didn't call her Betty Jean. Right. So like I'm thinking that she probably most of the time professionally went as Betty Jean. So like someone had to have known her to some degree.
This is literally like even the mistakes they're making.
Oh yeah.
Are mistakes I thought only existed in heist movies.
Oh my god, yeah. Like it basically is a heist movie, but like the wrong kind.
Oh, okay.
So the two pull a cap over BJ's eyes while they get to work. They lay 2 bed sheets down and begin piling the books on. But the books are much heavier than they anticipated.
Oh,
why didn't they Google that? Like what?
You just eye it up, you know?
It isn't like they spent so much time in that room. So they could not take as many as they had originally planned.
Like you didn't even think to once touch the books. Like, God forbid.
Yeah, I don't. Well, what I'm thinking is that they are locked most of the time, but because this special appointment was made, they would have been like brought out specially, and they had even called and said like, if you think of any other books that might be of interest to me, like Walter Beckman, feel free to take them out. So that way that's where they're going to get the small books from. The large books are going to be out of their like protective case. Gotcha. That's my thinking on it, at least. So, but they'd messed up that part. So they stuffed some of the smaller books into their backpack, took what they could of the large books, and they head towards the staff-only elevator. Shouting behind to BJ, "We're going to make an anonymous call. Like, you're not going to be up here too long." And they say that they felt bad. So they take the elevator down, but they can't find the fire exit. Because heaven forbid they had done a dry run or something. So back up the elevator they go, but they accidentally stop on the main floor. The doors open and another librarian spots them. She couldn't tell what they're holding, but clearly something's up. So they go back down to the bottom floor again just to get away with her. But then they realize, we still don't know how to get out of this room. And the only way out is probably the exit on the main floor that they were just on. So they go back up and they're like, we'll just carry the books through a back stairwell, and they lead to an exit. So they're going down the stairs, not like the ones that they're meant to be going down, and their arms give out. And so they pause to catch their breath. Not the time.
Got to.
The librarian from before had apparently run upstairs and seen what they'd done and seen BJ. She opens the door and looks livid. And she runs and they drop the books. They're running. Bye books. Spence.
This librarian is just like Terminator sprinting after.
Actually, I didn't write this part down, but I did write this part down. So that Spencer is watching them from above, and he sees that they're 20 steps ahead of the librarian. She's right on their tail. Chaz backs up the van, almost hits her.
Oh boy.
Eric gets into the van, but Warren has turned and run up another side of a hill. And so Eric calls out to him from like the van. Warren like turns around, runs back, jumps into the van. Off they go finally. Originally, they're so bummed, thinking like, we got away with nothing. But it turns out they got nearly $750,000 worth of books. That night, they're watching the news, and it had been nicknamed the Transy Book Heist. But they learn on the news that no one was able to provide an accurate description of any of them. People described them, but none of it was accurate. So they're like, awesome. So they tell their parents they're going to take a ski trip to West Virginia. All four of them tell them. But instead, they drive 12 hours to New York for their appointment. Again, this road trip to New York. The day of the appointment, they decide just Warren and Spencer are going to go in. They say it's because Warren had like the gift of gab and Spencer had like the art history background.
Okay.
So the description of their outfits is amazing. Like I had to put it in verbatim. Dressed for success in a tailored dark blue suit his parents had bought for special occasions and future job interviews, Warren cultivated the young conservative look, using a Windsor knot on his red tie and giving his wingtips a last-minute buff. Spencer assembled his outfit with even greater care, starting with a 1970s Pierre Cardin canary yellow blazer that had belonged to his grandfather. He wore a dress shirt with an ostentatiously large collar and a gold silk scarf. For footwear, he went with clean white sneakers.
Wow.
Subtle.
I mean, it's the best decision they've made thus far.
It's called subtlety. Look it up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Chaz and Eric, they drop off the other two around the corner from Christie's, and immediately, this doesn't go right either. When they check in, they're told the person that they'd been speaking to wasn't actually there that day, and his coworker, Melanie Halloran, was going to meet with them instead. The two introduce themselves as people who work for Mr. Beckman, which was the name they made the appointment under, and they give two fake names. They give this speech about how Mr. Beckman was a very private man from Boston, that this imaginary Bostonian had inherited several valuable rare books and manuscripts that he had wanted to get appraised, but for some reason they decided to leave the books in the car, so Spencer had to run out and get them. Which just seems like even more standing out for me. Like,
yeah. Okay.
So he returns with his suitcase with the books in them, and they're still wrapped in the bed sheets and pillowcases.
Jeez, I was gonna make a joke about it, but I was like, at this point,
no,
they're just gonna be in bed sheets.
The Christie's employee is inspecting them, asking them questions that they did their best to answer. The meeting lasted something like 30 minutes, and they're told I
was like, when was the last time you washed these sheets?
What is this suspicious stain?
These yours? Are these ones yours? Yeah. Okay.
They're told that the appraiser is going to be in touch with them after they talk to their supervisor. And Spencer gives them his cell phone number to get in contact. So the next morning, Warren tries to get in touch with the original appraiser that they'd been speaking to. He's leaving message after message with his secretary and not hearing anything back. And things are starting to get tense between the four of them. That evening, Chaz snaps at the group, fearing that this appraisal is going to be their undoing. Chaz is like, fuck you, you're cool. No, he's like, fuck all of this. Like, I want to make another plan and I want to get out of this. So the next day, they start home for what I'm sure is an incredibly uncomfortable 12-hour drive. So while all of this is going on, the police are investigating the security footage from the computer lab in the library. They easily trace the email from Walter Beckman to BJ, because I don't know if you remember me saying that they emailed Christie's with the same email address that they emailed BJ. So it was like easily connected.
Yeah. Right.
So the police go to Christie's, and the appraiser they met was like, yeah, I met with some weird kids in eccentric outfits. Again, she mentions being put off by their youth, just like everyone else in the story, but she had actually advised her boss to not move forward with the appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
So they watched the security footage from there and matched the two. Plus, Spencer gave them his phone number.
Uh-huh.
So they call, and the outgoing message is, "This is Spence, leave a message." They look up the phone bill.
Mm-hmm.
I just fully burped into the mic. And they see that it's registered to a Gary Reinhardt, who's Spencer's dad. So they look up Spencer, Gary Reinhardt. It leads them to Spencer Reinhardt. And when they put it all together, the Google image that comes up is the picture of Spencer and Warren when they were the local heroes doing their soccer stance.
Oh boy, everything, all of it has conspired to just... Woo, all right.
The photos confirmed the identities of the men in the surveillance footage.
Whoa.
So, February 2005, 2 months after the heist, Spencer and Warren are put under surveillance, which quickly added the connection to the other two, Chaz and Eric. They're feeling super paranoid, and they're, like, very aware that the gig is up and they're being surveilled. They have no idea what to do, so they just, like, keep going to class and trying to, like, live their lives and just waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's around this time Spencer says he remembers that he puts together, we used the same email to email Christie's and BJ. Uh-huh. And he's like, fuck. Yeah. Like, we are fucked. The two are feeling more under pressure, and they're, like, trying to act cool and just waiting, and they start acting out. Warren ends up getting caught trying to shoplift a TV dinner. Warren is arrested and charged with a DWI. In great detail, apparently just days before their arrest, they went to the theaters to go see Ocean's 12.
Oh.
Disappointment upon disappointment.
Can you imagine if you had to go to prison and the last movie you watched was
Ocean's 12? I don't even remember. I don't even know if I saw it. Unless that's the one where Julia Roberts has to be herself. Have you seen that one?
I don't know. I cannot remember.
It's so funny. It's like it doesn't matter. So February 11th, 2005, the door to the house that the boys share, the one that Chaz owns with his dad, is broken down by police with a battering ram, blasting stun grenades. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't sound fun.
But, like, that is, like, other than the assault against BJ, it's books. It's books.
It's $750,000.
I guess that is... I mean, that would be the flashing neon sign for the police.
Yeah.
But let it be like, get the battering ram.
Yeah. Oh, just wait. That's how they announce themselves. A task force of 20 police, police. A task force of 20 police officers come in to arrest them. Chaz wakes up in a daze thinking they're being robbed, and he comes out of his room with a fucking pistol.
Oh my God.
He's like, what the fuck? And then they're like, put it down!
Oh my God, Chaz, no!
Yeah, they said that like a bunch of like girls are running around like, ah! Like it sounds like it's like a party house. They find Warren in the basement, sprawled on his mattress, in a duffel bag that they found at the foot of his bed. This is the contents of the duffel bag. The stolen books, all undamaged.
Those aren't mine.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
I'm holding those for a friend.
A 5-page typed plan of the heist.
Come on.
An accounting ledger, wigs, instructions for opening a Swiss bank account, and the stun guns that hadn't arrived in time.
Jesus. And a Polaroid of the two of them posing with a blindfolded BJ.
Yeah.
Signed them like... Love you, buddy.
Sorry, Gooch.
Glad we stole those books together.
Oh, so at the exact same time, like simultaneously, Spencer's being arrested at his dorm. They obviously had that dramatic thing going on at the house. They don't really say what happened with his, but all 4 of them are brought to the police station, and they all sing immediately. 2 months later...
Yeah, that checks.
Yeah. 2 months later, they all formally plead guilty to all 6 federal charges, which include theft of cultural artifacts from a public museum and interstate transportation of stolen property.
Oh my God.
The prosecutor asked for 11 to 14 years for Eric, Chaz, and Spencer, and 14 to 17 for Warren, since he appeared to be the ringleader. So I love this little note. So they argue that the stun pen they used not only inflicted physical harm. They argue that the stun pen they used not only inflicted physical harm for BJ, but that it was a dangerous weapon. So that's how, like, they're trying to say that's another charge, that they had used this dangerous weapon and caused physical harm. But this had become a cause for librarians around the country, and they were upset. And so I wrote, a lot spoke above an indoor voice and were being vocal to the judge, arguing against leniency of the attackers. So they're saying, like, we gotta protect our librarians.
We gotta fucking kill these motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. This is wild.
So before the judge gave their verdict, she made preliminary findings saying all 4 were equally culpable, stating that the value of the stolen books would include only those physically removed from the library. And the judge found that even though BJ hadn't suffered any bodily injury, they did agree that the stun pen was a dangerous weapon. And because all 4 of them made the highly unusual decision not to accept the prosecutor's offer to testify against each other during sentencing in exchange for leniency, they were all sentenced to the identical 7-year term.
Whoa.
A police detective said that he thinks if they hadn't made the trip to Christie's, they could have gotten away with it. The 3 are in the same federal prison, and Chaz is in a medical federal center. And according to the boys, aside from hurting BJ, they don't regret anything.
Oh, boys.
And that's the story of the Transy Book Heist.
Whoa, that is... Yeah, I had never even heard of that.
Well, you had, because I have recommended the movie to you for years.
The movie, but for some reason, I thought that the movie took place in, like, the 70s?
No. It's so good. They even do these really cool, like, stylized parts where, like, when they're doing the plan and it's, like, phase 1, phase 2, and it's, like, going so seamlessly in their mind, you see it played out, and they're, like, in suits, and their hair slicked back, and, like, the music's going, and, like, it's so, so good. And the actors in it are so good. Oh, you would actually know. One of them was that creepy kid in Killing of Sacred Deer.
Oh.
He's Irish.
Man.
His name starts with a B. Barry something.
Barry Keogh.
There we go. We got there together. And then the other one is the blonde guy from all of the American Horror Stories seasons.
Oh, I don't know his name, but
he
I
dated
know who you're talking about.
Emma Roberts for a long time. So they play Warren and Spencer.
Huh. Yeah, I've got to watch this.
Yeah.
That was, oh my God, that was so much fun. Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you so much for I've been so excited to tell you this story.
I can see it's such a great story, but you fucking told it
so
well.
Thank you.
So well done. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was delightful.
Yeah, that was such a great story.
Oh my God, now I'm exhausted.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this. Was so fun, and I'm so glad that we came back and did the squeakquel.
Yes. Oh, I'm even more jazzed now. Like after recording the second one, I'm like, yes, this is a thing.
It is a thing now.
It's not a one-off.
No, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it, baby. And we will be back next week with more. Well, I won't have death in my story. We can't speak to that for Adam, who loves to break the rules that we came up with.
Yeah,
we came up with them.
True. There's no criminal death. There's no criminal death.
I mean, a woman was hanged. half hanged.
I mean, in my next story.
In the next one, she was half hanged.
That is the kind of shit that that would be brought up in court.
Yeah, it was only a half hanging. So
she got better.
Not a nude anymore. Oh my god. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Adam. Adam Lawler, my love.
Thank you, Beck Rose.
I can't wait for next week.
I'm so excited to tell you the next story. I'm very. It's just fun. It's
amazing. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you,
Bye
everyone.
bye. Thank you so much for listening to Unscrupulous Podcast. If you want to hear more from us, you can check us out on Instagram at unscrupulouspod. You could always send us an email with any of your case suggestions or just your admiration for us at unscrupulouspod@gmail.com. Make sure to check out our show notes where you can find information on where we got our resources today, and we will check you out next time.